All right, so Web35, welcome to Prototypes and Inheritance. Today we're going to be going into detail about the this keyword. I know this is the day you've all been waiting for. And then we're going to jump into prototypes and constructor functions. So let's open up this blank code pen and we're going to get started. So there's 4 principles of the this keyword. The first principle I want to talk about is window binding. Okay, window binding is not something we're aiming to use. It is the default if we have not given this any context. So before we jump into what the this keyword means in JavaScript, explain to me, what does this mean in English? If I said, look at this, what am I talking about? It refers to something specific, yeah. It's a pronoun, it references a thing, a specific thing. Yeah, but the truth is that this has absolutely no meaning unless we give it context. So if I said, look at this, you would have no clue what I'm talking about. If I picked up my coffee mug and I said, look at this, you would know that this refers to the coffee mug, okay? JavaScript is the same thing. This doesn't really have any meaning unless we give it context. And if we don't give this any context, it defaults to the window. Okay, so if none of the other rules apply, this defaults to the window or the global object in Node. Okay, unless you are using strict mode, and we'll talk about what that is in a second, in which case it would return undefined. Okay, so what is strict mode? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type dog equals Ada, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to console.log dog. Okay, save, run. Okay, and I get Ada back in the console. So you can see that I just made a variable here, but I didn't declare it and it still worked. Okay, this is really bad practice. Don't do this. Okay, I'm going to type up here, use strict. It's a rule. And I'm going to clear, save, and run this again. Okay, and we get dog is not defined. In the early days of JavaScript, when it was first invented, it was possible to do this, okay? We could create a variable without declaring it, and the browser, being as smart as it is, would try to help us out with our mistake, okay? It would say like, oops, you forgot to var this, so I'll just do it for you. This is really bad code. Okay, not declaring your variables is not a good thing. It's really bad. And it can lead to a lot of bugs in your program down the road. So it's really sloppy. It's generally just not something that you want to do. So JavaScript had to keep this functionality because some developer 15 years ago wrote some terrible code. They didn't var their variables, and that code still has to work today. So we can't go and break JavaScript. That's what's referred to as backwards compatibility. But we can introduce new modes into JavaScript. So if you're using strict mode and you try to do something silly like this, you're going to get an error, okay? So strict mode is pretty cool. You don't have to type it every single time because we're just going to be good developers with good practices and we're going to declare our variables. And then strict mode is also automatically enforced by a lot of JavaScript modules, like Node, for example. And tomorrow when we learn about classes also use strict mode. So if you are using strict mode and you have not given this any context, it will return undefined. If you're not using strict mode, it will return the window or the global object in Node. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out. And I'm going to come down here and type use strict. And we're going to get into our first example here. So I'm going to make a function. I'm going to call this function ghost. And I am going to console.log this.boo. Okay. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make a variable called boo, and I'm going to set it equal to a ghost. So I'm going to put an emoji here just to make this a little more fun. Control Command spacebar should bring up some emojis for you on a Mac. You can also just write boo if you don't want to use emojis for this. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to invoke ghost. Okay, clear, save, run. And I get cannot read property boo of undefined. Okay, so this is returning undefined. I have not given this any context. So again, strict mode or window binding, it's not something we are aiming to use. It is simply what this defaults to if you haven't given this any context. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is implicit binding. And implicit binding we went through when we went through objects, but let's do a refresher. So it's the most common rule. Okay, so it's found in about 80% of use cases. Again, these notes are probably pretty important, so if you can write them out, I would write them out while you're following along. So what does this refer to in implicit binding? Does anyone remember? What does this refer to in implicit binding? It's implied that this is referring to something. Does anyone remember what it is referring to? Yeah, you guys are awesome. So when the function is invoked, look to the left of the dot. That is what this refers to. Okay, this stuff is commented out. So let's see an example of this. Oh, and one more note here. It only applies to objects with methods. Okay, so we're going to say const my ghost equals, and we're going to create an object here. We're going to give this ghost a name, Casper. We're going to give this ghost a boo. Boo. We're going to give this ghost a function of ghost. And we're going to console.log this.boo. Okay. I'm going to come down here and I am going to invoke ghost. So let me get another thread going here. How do I invoke the method of ghost? Ghost with a lowercase g, not a capital G. How do I invoke this function? Yeah, perfect. So I would say my ghost dot ghost. And I need these smooth brackets, otherwise I am just referencing, I'm not actually invoking the function. So I'm going to clear, save, run. And we get back boo. Okay, so how did JavaScript know that this boo was Casper's boo? Because when the function is invoked, look to the left of the dot. That's what this refers to. Put some around here. So that is what this refers to. So this boo is the boo that belongs to my ghost, which is this boo here. Okay. All right, let's see this with a couple different examples here. So I'm going to comment that out, and we're going to use these examples later on as well. So I'm going to say const pet1 equals, and I'm going to create an object here. So name, data, species, she's a polydog, pronoun, she is a her, and fave food, and her favorite food is salmon. Okay, so I need some more data because we're going to create a couple of these objects. So I'm going to get a thread going. Give me some data. Give me either your pet's name, species, pronoun, and favorite food, or your favorite animal's name, pronoun, species, and favorite food. And we're going to create some more objects here. I'm going to create an eat function, and I am going to console.log. And I'll use string template literals here. I'm going to say this dot name is a $ curly brackets, this dot species, and $ curly brackets, this dot pronoun. Favorite food is $ curly brackets, this dot fave food. All right, I'm gonna copy this and paste it a couple more times, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll change these here. So we'll call this pet2. We'll call this pet3. We'll call this pet4. And we'll call this pet5. Okay, let's grab some data. All right, so we have Harris, and Harris is a dog, and I'm assuming his favorite food is anything that moves. Okay, we've also got Savannah. Savannah is a cat, and her favorite food is chicken. All right, let's see what else we have. Mostly cats and dogs. Okay, let's go with Noodles. Feel free to use your own pets as well if you don't want to use these examples. So we have Noodles. Noodles is a border Aussie. And his favorite food is steak. And one more. Oh, we've got a black bear. We'll use the black bear. Perfect. So we have scary. Black bears aren't that scary, but black bear. And her favorite food is berries. Okay, great. So we've got 5 different objects. One thing that all of these objects have in common is that they all have an eat method. So how do we know what this name, this species, this pronoun, and this favorite food refers to? Because they all have this same method. Okay, so we're going to invoke these methods. We'll say pet1.eat, pet2.eat, pet3.eat, pet4.eat, and pet5.eat. Okay, and if we clear, save, and run, we get Ada is a Bali dog and her favorite food is salmon. Harris is a dog and his favorite food is anything that moves. Savannah is a cat and her favorite food is chicken. Noodles is a border collie or border Aussie and his favorite food is steak. And Scary is a black bear and her favorite food is berries. So again, how did we know what this refers to? So when the function is invoked, look to the left of the dot. That is what this refers to. Okay, so we don't know what this name is until the function is invoked. All right, I'm going to give you a chance to try it here. You are going to build a person object. It's going to have a name property, an age property, and a location property, and a greet method that is going to say, hi, my name is name, I am from location, and I am age years old. Do not hard code name, age, or location. You're using the this keyword to refer to them. So let me put you in your breakout rooms here, and I'm going to give you, I think 5 minutes is probably enough to work on this. Go ahead and join those rooms, and I will put 5 minutes on the clock. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. right, welcome back. How did that breakout go? Thumbs up? Awesome. We'll just give the rest of your classmates a moment to return. Okay, we've got a couple thumbs ups. Any thumbs down? Did anyone struggle with that breakout? Okay, we've got about 23 people back. And it looks like everyone's coming back in about 5 seconds. Let me pause the timer. Okay, so get ready to copy and paste your solution code. Don't paste it or you can paste it, but don't hit enter until I say go. So I've got a new thread there. Copy your solution code, get ready to paste it. Don't hit enter yet. I should see lots of people typing. And go. All right, those are some beautiful objects. Let's do this together. So we wanted to create a person object. I'm just going to comment these pets out for now. So we wanted to create our person object. So we can say const person equals, and we're going to set it equal to an object. And we are going to give this person a name. We are going to give this person an age. And we are going to give this person a location. Okay, and we are also going to give this person the ability to greet function. And we can console.log here, and we want to see, hi, my name is $ curly brackets this dot name. I am from $ curly brackets this dot location, and I am $ curly brackets this dot age, years old. Okay, and then how do we invoke the greet method? We say person.greet, clear, save, run, and we should get our result in the console. Hi, I am Britt, I am from Niagara Falls, and I am 32 years old. Okay, so again, this is another example of implicit binding. Look to the left of the dot. That is what this refers to. Okay, we're 30 minutes in. What did I mean by hard code name, age, and location? I didn't want you to do this. I didn't want you to say like, hi, my name is Britt. I am from Niagara Falls. Like, I didn't want you to just hard code it. I wanted you to use the this keyword to reference the person's name, age, and location from the object. All right, I'm going to give you a 5-minute break and a chance to ask some questions because we are 30 minutes in. So go ahead and get those questions into Slido. We're going to talk about the last 2 principles of this when you get back. So I'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back, Web35. Let's answer some questions. June says, I wasn't sure about the restricted mode. So are we using a restricted mode by default? If yes, does this keyword reference the window by default in restricted mode? So it's actually strict mode, not restricted mode. So strict mode is this rule here, this use strict rule. Okay, you're not using it by default, although some modules in JavaScript will use strict. So for example, when we use classes tomorrow, we're using strict mode. Classes use strict mode. What strict mode does is that it forces you to write cleaner code with errors if you don't. If you have not given this any context, in strict mode, it will return undefined. Otherwise, it will default to the window, okay? So window binding, if none of the other rules apply, this defaults to the window unless you are using strict mode, in which case it will return undefined. All right. When you say left of the dot, is that referring to person in the person.greet, meaning that this keyword binds to the object? Yes. So what happens here when we're invoking person.greet, let me get my little annotation tool out. We look to the left of the dot. That's what this refers to. So this name would refer to the person's name. This location refers to the person's location, and this age refers to the person's age. Okay, so when the function is invoked here, we look to the left of the dot here, and then this keyword gets bound to this person, all of their keys here. Okay, clear that. Good question. Okay, is greet available to be used on other objects even though the function exists within person? Good question, Trevor. So currently, no, because we haven't created constructor functions, but we're going to get to that in the second part of the guided project. So the purpose of a constructor function is to pass methods across thousands of objects. But since these objects are not built using a constructor function, then no. So for example, we couldn't uncomment one of these pet objects and then come down here and say like pet.greet, because pet.greet doesn't exist, okay? So let me comment this stuff out, and we're going to talk about the next principle of this, which is explicit binding. Okay, with implicit binding, it's implied to whatever is at the left of the dot when the function is invoked. That's what this refers to. With explicit binding, we explicitly tell JavaScript what this keyword should refer to. And we do that in 3 ways. So we have .call, and this will immediately invoke the function. And with .call, you pass in arguments one by one. Okay. The next way is .apply. .apply will also immediately invoke the function. With .apply, you pass in arguments as an array. And then we have .bind. And .bind, you pass in the arguments one by one. But it does not immediately invoke the function. Instead, it returns a brand new function that can be invoked later. Okay, So let's see an example of what this looks like. We're going to start with .call, and I'm going to go back to my ghost function. So I'm going to say function ghost, and I'm just going to console.log this.boo. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make a couple objects. So I'm going to say const my ghost equals, and we'll give this ghost a name, Casper. And oops, I need a comma there, and we will give this ghost a boo. Ooh. Okay, and then I'm going to make another object. So I'm going to say const other ghost, and we will do Casper's enemy, which is Fatso. And Fatso's an angry ghost, so we'll give him an angry boo. Okay, so how do I invoke ghost on other ghost and my ghost? So we're going to come down here and we're going to say ghost.call, and I'm going to do this twice, ghost.call. Okay, and now I'm going to pass in my argument for what I want this keyword to refer to. So here I'm going to pass in my ghost. So we are binding this to my ghost. And here I'm going to pass in other ghost. So we're going to bind this to other ghost. Okay, and if I save and run, I get first Casper's boo and then Fatso's boo. So here I am explicitly telling JavaScript what this keyword should refer to by the argument I'm passing in. Oops. Argument I am passing in when invoking the function with .call. Okay. With apply, it would look similar, except that you would be passing in the argument as an array. Okay. With .bind, it's a little bit different. So .bind, I'm going to take this stuff again and just move it down. So we've got another example here. And let me just comment this out. Okay, so with .bind, again, we've got a function called ghost. We're going to console log this boo. Then we have two objects, my ghost and other ghost. And with .bind, if you remember, we pass in the arguments one by one, but it does not immediately invoke the function. Instead, it returns a brand new function that can be invoked later. So first we need to name that brand new function. So I'm going to say const friendly ghost equals ghost.bind, and then I'm going to pass in my ghost. Okay, so here I am creating a new function called friendly ghost and binding my ghost to it. Okay, I can do the same thing here. So const angry ghost equals ghost.bind other ghost. Okay, so here I am creating a new function called angry ghost and binding other ghost to it. Okay, so if I clear, save, and run, nothing is going to happen here. And why am I not seeing anything in the console? So let me get a thread going. Why don't I see anything in the console? Yeah, I haven't invoked it. So the function is not immediately invoked, okay? It returns a brand new function that can be invoked later. So how would I invoke this? How do I invoke these functions? Yeah, so not just with parentheses, I would have to call the function's name. And what is the function's name now? So we've created two new functions. We've created friendly ghost, and we've set it equal to ghost.bind, and we've passed in the argument of my ghost. We've also created angry ghost and set that equal to ghost.bind and passed in the argument of other ghost. So these are my new function names. Friendly ghost and angry ghost are the new functions that I've created. Okay, let me clear that. Okay, so now we need to invoke those. So I'm gonna come down here and invoke friendly ghost. And I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna invoke angry ghost. Now I'm gonna save and run. And I get back my friendly ghosts boo and my angry ghosts boo. Okay, so with .bind, the important part is that it does not immediately invoke the function. Instead, it returns a brand new function that can be invoked later. So I'm gonna get a breakout going here. So I want you to create a function and use the call keyword to make an animal say its sound. And then you are going to create an animal object, give the animal a name, a species, and a sound. So I'm going to give you another 5 minutes to try this on your own. So let me get you back in your breakout rooms. Go ahead and join, and I'll call you back in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back. How did that go? Were you able to complete the challenge? We got a check mark, that's a good sign. A couple fireballs, perfect. Went well, good to hear. We'll just give your other classmates another moment to get back. They should be back in about 25 seconds. So if you are back in the main room, let me know how that went. Just gonna stop the timer before it goes off. Okay, it looks like everyone's coming back in now. All right, let's do this together. There's a couple thumbs downs, no worries. So we wanted to create a function and use the call keyword to make the animal say its sound. So I'll comment this stuff out because we don't need it anymore. So save breakout. All right, so I'm going to create a function here. I'm going to call this function call of the wild. And I am going to console.log. You could return or console log. It's just depending if you're wanting to wrap a console log around your invocation or not in this case, because we just want to see it in the console. So here we're going to say $ curly brackets, this dot name says $ curly brackets, this dot sound. Okay. And then we're going to create an animal, and it's an object. And I'm going to give this animal a name. I'm going to call her Betsy. I'm going to give this animal a species. Betsy is a cow. Okay. And I am going to give this animal a sound. So she says moo. Obviously. All right, how do we make Betsy say her sound? So we can say call of the wild, and of needs to be capital O. So we want to invoke the function here, and we want to say dot call, and then we are going to bind animal here. So we're going to say animal. Okay, so here we are invoking the function and binding the animal to it. And if I clear, save, and run, I get Betsy says moo. Okay, I could come down here and create another animal too. I could say like const other animal equals, and we'll give this animal a name. We'll call him Larry. We'll give this animal a species. Larry is a llama. And we'll give Larry a sound. I have no idea what sound llamas make, but we'll say ah. See if there's a llama emoji. Perfect. Okay. So how would we bind call of the wilds to make Larry say his sound? So let me get a thread going here. How do I make Larry speak? Yeah, you guys have got this. Call of the wilds dot call, and we're going to pass in other animal. clear, save, run. And we get Betsy says moo and Larry says ba. All right, last principle of this keyword, and then I will give you a short break. We're going to talk about new binding. Okay, so using the new keyword, it constructs a new object, and this points to it. Okay, using the new keyword constructs a new object, and this points to it. Okay, when a function is invoked as a constructor function using the new keyword, this points to the new object that's been created. So let's write that as a note. When a function is invoked as a constructor function using the new keyword, this points to the new object that's created. Okay, and there's a couple ways that we can do this, okay? So I'm going to go back to my ghost here. So I'm going to say function ghost, and I'm going to pass in saying, and I'm going to set this dot phrase to equal saying. Okay, and then I'm going to say const my ghost, and I'm going to set that equal to a new ghost, and I'm going to pass in my saying as my argument. So I'm going to say Casper the friendly ghost. Okay, I'm going to reference my ghost's phrase by saying console.log ghost.phrase. Okay, before I run this, what is different about this function? What is different about this function that is not like the other functions? It's capitalized, yes. So constructor functions are usually capitalized. So let's save and run this. New ghost is not defined. There needs to be a space there. There we go. Clear, save, run. And I'm still getting undefined. You see where I went wrong here. So I have function ghost equals saying, this dot phrase, and I'm setting that equal to the saying that I'm going to pass in here. Const my ghost equals new ghost, and I'm passing in my phrase of Casper the friendly. And then I want to invoke my ghost dot phrase. This is what I'm invoking. Clear, save, run. Okay, then I get back Casper the friendly. Okay, so here I'm passing in the arguments one by one. Okay, I could have a second argument here like name, and I could say Casper, and then I could say console.log my ghost.name. Clear, and I have to say this dot name equals name, save, run. Okay, and here I get Casper. So this is one way to write this. We could also write it like this. I could say function ghost, and I'll comment out the other one before I run it. And I could pass in attributes, okay, or any word that I want to use here. And I could say this dot phrase equals attributes dot phrase. And this dot name equals attributes dot name. And then when I'm constructing my new object here, I would say const my ghost equals new ghost, and I would pass in an object instead of passing in my arguments one by one. So the object would get a name, or I guess we could do it in order here. The object would get a phrase. So Casper the friendly. Okay, and the object would get a name, Casper. Let me comment out this stuff. I'll bring these console logs down here and uncomment them. And if I clear, save, and run, you can see that I get the same result back in the console. Okay, I'm showing you both ways to do this because you can do it either way. The project today is going to ask you to do it this first way. My personal preference would be to do it like this, just because once you start getting a lot of different attributes here, passing them in as individual arguments can sometimes get a little messy. So I find that this second way can be a little bit easier to read if you're dealing with like more than 3 arguments or more than 3 attributes, okay? So I'm gonna stop here for a moment. I'm gonna give you a chance to get some questions into Slido. When we get back, we're gonna combine all of this stuff together and we're gonna talk about constructor functions. Let me comment that out and I will see you in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back, Web35. Let's answer some questions. All right, the first question, why/in what case would you use .call, explicit binding? Why and in what case would you use .bind, explicit binding? Why and in what case would you use new binding? All right, so that's 3 questions there. So .call is when you would want to pass in the arguments one by one. And actually, let's go take a look at the training kit here. Because if you went through the training kit this morning, you probably would have noticed .call being used. So if we go down here to our constructor functions, where do we have there we go. This is an example. So we have a function banana, we're passing in banana adders. Okay, it's being constructed from this fruit function, but it is a child of the fruit. And we are using fruit.call to bind the parents this keyword and any new attributes. And then the new attribute goes here. So this .do monkeys like it is a attribute that is specific to the banana. Okay. We're going to go through a whole lesson on constructor functions in a moment. So if this doesn't make total sense yet, that's okay. So new, we're also using a new keyword when we create an object here. Where are objects? Here we go. Const new banana, or const new banana equals new banana. Const new kiwi equals new kiwi. Okay, so we're creating new objects here. And I'm gonna see if I can find an example of .bind in here. I don't know if there's an example of .bind in the training kit, but .bind, if we go back to what .bind does, so it wouldn't immediately invoke the function. It would be for creating a brand new function that we want to invoke later, okay? So hold this thought because we're going to see lots of examples of this in a moment. Why would you use .call rather than passing in the variable animal as an argument? Well, let's pass in the variable animal as an argument. So if we go back to that breakout, which is online, it's a little further down. Yeah, it's here. Okay, let me uncomment this. Okay. Clear, save, run. We're going to get an error here. CodePen says undefined. Okay, so we need .call. We can't just pass in an argument here. If we're using the this keyword, we need to tell this what to refer to. This is not a method. It doesn't belong to any object. It's just a function. If we want to bind this to an object, we need to use .call. Okay, so that's why we're using .call there. When we did const friendly ghost equals ghost.bind my ghost, is friendly ghost receiving function ghost only, or both function ghost and object my ghost? So let's go take another look at that example. So here, when we create friendly ghost, what is friendly ghost? Let me get a thread going here. What is friendly ghost? It is a variable, but it's more than a variable. What have we set the variable to? It's a function, exactly. So the function that we've set it to is the invocation of the ghost function. Okay, we've set it to invoke the ghost function, and we've bound it to my ghost. So this foo will refer to my ghost's foo, which is why we get this friendly foo back in the console. Okay, so here we are creating a new function called friendly ghost, and we are binding my ghost to it. So I guess the answer to your question is both. We are creating a new function, which is invoking the ghost function, and it's binding my ghost to that function. Okay. And is the new keyword creating a copy of the object or referencing the original object? So with the new keyword, we're using it with constructor functions. And the purpose of a constructor function is to construct new objects. So I like to think of constructor functions as kind of like a template for an object, and we can create new objects out of them. So let's do an example to answer that question even better. Okay, so we're into prototypes and constructor functions. Okay, so hopefully some of your lingering questions will be answered now. So a couple things we need to know here. So constructor functions construct other objects. Okay, that is their whole purpose in life. Constructor functions construct other objects. Okay, this is their whole life's purpose. How do we know if it's a constructor function? Capitalized function name usually gives it away. Capitalized function name. Okay, this is why we don't capitalize other function names. So you will want to use a capital with constructor functions. It will still technically work if you do not use a capital, but what the capital is saying is that when the next developer goes and looks at your code, like, hey, heads up, next developer, this is a constructor function, okay? It is usually missing a return statement. This is not a guarantee. And usually you will see this keyword present. Okay, let's take all of those pets that we created up here. And this was a lot of work, right? We created 5 different pets. We had to type them all out. They all shared one thing. What is the thing that they all shared? What did the pets share? Yeah, they all shared a method. So some of these things we have to type out. Some of these things are inevitable. So if we look at the left side, all of the keys are the same, but if we look at the right side, all of the values are different. So we still have to do some manual input here. We still have to manually input all of these values. But there's some things that we don't have to repeat. Okay, so let's create a constructor function here for our pets. So I'm going to say function pet, and I'm going to pass it attributes. Okay, I'm going to set this dot name to equal attributes dot name. I am going to say this dot species equals attributes dot species. This dot pronoun equals attributes dot pronoun. This dot fave food equals attributes dot fave food. Okay. I could put the eat method right inside of this constructor function, but there's a problem if I do that. Does anybody know what problem that would cause? What would be the problem with putting the methods inside of the constructor? Why do I not want to put the method right inside of the constructor function? Yeah, TJ's got it. There's a memory issue there, okay? If I put all of my methods right inside of my constructor functions, every time a new object is painted, that new method also has to be painted. And this can be really, really memory intensive. Probably not a huge deal for 5 different objects, but if we had 50,000 different objects and 50 different methods, then we start to run into a memory issue here. Okay, so I have to abstract out that method. And to do that, I need another keyword. What keyword do I need? And I'm going to see who did their training kit review this morning. So what keyword do I need here to abstract out the method? Yeah, I need prototype. Awesome. So all of the pets have an eat method. So I can say pet.prototype.eat. And I'm going to set that equal to function. And I am going to console.log. This dot name is a this dot species and this dot pronoun favorite food is this dot fave food. Okay, so I've created my constructor function. I've abstracted out my method using .prototype. Now I need to create all of my objects. So like I said before, some things we can save ourselves time on, other things we just can't, right? Like all of these objects have different values. All of these keys have different values. So we have to type this stuff out. This is unavoidable. So I'm gonna say const pet1, and I'm going to set that equal to what? How would I construct a new object here? What is pet1? What am I setting this equal to? Yeah, Justin and Sean and Steve and Chris and Nathan definitely did their homework. Awesome. So we want a new pet. Okay, since I've passed attributes in here and not name, species, pronoun, fave, food, then I have to put an object inside of here. Okay. So each pet gets a name, each pet gets a species, each pet gets a pronoun, and each pet gets a fave food. I'm actually just going to go copy and paste this stuff from what we wrote out earlier to save us some time. So I'm going to uncomment. I'll uncomment these and I'll comment them as I copy and paste them over. Okay, so I'm going to take Ada, Bali dog, pronoun, fave food. I'm going to leave the eat function there, the eat method there, because we've already abstracted out that eat method. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for pet2 equals new pet. And I'm going to go do the same thing. So pet2, I'm going to take the name, species, and fave food. I'm going to leave that eat method alone. Const pet3 equals new pet. And I'm going to leave pet 4 and 5 alone for a moment because I'm actually going to make those children of the pets. We'll do that in a second. Okay, let's comment these out for now so that we don't get an error that const has already been declared. Okay, so let's test and see if this works. Let's test if Ada, Harris, and Savannah all still have access to that eat method, okay? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say pet1.eat, pet2.eat, and pet3.eat. Okay. Save, run, and we get Ada is a Bali dog and her favorite food is salmon. Harris is a dog and his favorite food is anything that moves. And Savannah is a cat and her favorite food is chicken. Awesome. We get a thread going. Everyone with me so far? Good. Okay, so now I want to give these pets some children, okay? I want these children to inherit all of the things that their parents have. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say function, and we'll just call it baby pet. Baby needs to be capital, baby pet. There we go. And I'm going to pass baby pet some attributes. And then I want to tell baby pet who its parent is. So how do I tell baby pet who its parent is? Belongs to. How do I tell baby pet who it belongs to? Yeah, I need to use .call for this. And what am I passing in? Joshua's got it. I'm passing in this and I'm passing in attributes. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say pet.call and I'm going to pass in this and attributes. Okay. If I had any special attributes for baby pet, so maybe we want to give baby pet a toy, and I always have to look in the training kit to do this. Okay, this is how we would sign a special attribute here. So we're going to say this dot baby pet equals this dot baby pet equals attributes dot toy. Okay, so this is a special attribute that belongs to the baby pets. Okay, how do I give baby pet access to the eat method? Let me get a thread going here. How do I make the baby pet eat? How do I give baby pet access to that eat method? So it doesn't already have that from pet. Good, good catch there. So right now we've told it to inherit the attributes, but we haven't told it to inherit the objects yet. So we need another step to do that. And Joshua's got it there. So we would say baby pet dot prototype. So baby pet dot prototype equals object dot create, and we're going to pass in pet dot prototype. Okay, so here we are linking together the pet prototype with the child prototype. Linking the pet prototype with the baby. Prototype. Okay. Let's just make sure all of this works before we give the baby pet its own method. So let's come down here and let's create some more objects. So we're going to say const pet4 equals new. And if I want pet4 to be a child, what is it a new of? So what is pet4? Is it a new pet? Is it a new baby pet? Yeah, it's a new baby pet. Okay. So this baby pet inherits everything that its parent has. So it has a name, a species, a pronoun, and a favorite food. So Noodles will be our first baby pet. And this baby pet also gets a favorite toy. So I don't know if Noodles' favorite toy is a ball, but I'm going to say that it is. And then we're going to say const pet5 equals new baby pet. And we have our bear for const 5, or for pet 5. So what does a bear play with? Okay, because we need to give the bear a toy as well. Let me grab Scary. And Scary gets a toy. And let's see what you guys came up with. Oh, trash cans. Yeah, black bears like trash cans. Trash can. Okay, so let's take pet4.eat and pet5.eat and make sure that they have access to the eat method. Okay, cool. Everybody still has the ability to eat. Now I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and you are going to give the baby pets the ability to play with their toy. Okay, so breakouts. Breakout, let the baby pets play with their toys. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this, but if you are finished early, please come back early and I'll call everyone else back. So go ahead and join your breakout rooms and I will call you back in 5 minutes unless you're done earlier. All right, if you're back in the main room, let me know how that breakout went. Were you able to get the baby pets to play with their toys? Let me know in that thread in Web35. Could you get your baby pets to play with their toys? Some pressure is on, thumbs down. All right, we will do it together, don't worry. This dot toy returned undefined. Okay, that's fine, we can debug it. All right, let's see. Still waiting for a few people to get back. Looks like everyone's coming back now. All right, let's do this together. So if we come up here, we should be able to give baby pet their own method by saying baby pet dot prototype equals, let's call it play. Baby pet dot prototype dot play equals function. And we can console dot log. And let's say this dot name plays with this dot pronoun, $, curly brackets, this dot toy. Okay, so let's try pet 4 dot play and pet 5 dot play, and let's see what we get back. We might have to debug a little bit here. Clear, save, run. All right, so toy is returning undefined. So let's take a look at the training kit again and make sure that we've defined toy properly. So let's look at the fruit one to get another example. And this dot do monkeys like it equals banana adders dot do monkeys like it. So let's just say, let's see that we've done this correctly. We said this dot toy, that's what it should be. This dot toy equals attributes dot toy. So save, clear, run, and there we go. So we just need to fix how we defined toy. So this dot toy equals attributes dot toy is going to be a special attribute to the baby pet. Okay, then we get Scary plays with her trash can and Noodles plays with his ball. Okay, do pet 1, 2, and 3 have access to the play method? Do pet 1, 2, 3 have the ability to play? No. Why? Because we can inherit down, but we can't inherit back up. Okay, so we can inherit things from our parents, but our parents can't inherit things from us. All right, I want to stop here. I want to talk about today's project, and then I actually have an example from today's project. So we'll do the first question of today's project together, and then I'll take some final questions before I let you go for the day. So let's scroll down and open up today's project because I have a little PSA here. So on today's project, you have the option to use Code Sandbox. I'm going to strongly recommend that you use Code Sandbox on today's project. Why? Because your JavaScript assessment uses Code Sandbox, okay? So if you don't use Code Sandbox, then you're not going to have any experience with this environment for your JavaScript assessment. So probably a good idea to get that out of the way today and use Code Sandbox, okay? I'd rather you work through those environment issues this afternoon when you still kind of, I don't know, it's not a timed assessment. So if you're running into any issues, you can do that this afternoon rather than on a timed assessment, okay? Okay, let's open up the project example for today, and we're gonna go through the first question in the project together. So it says task 1, write a person constructor that initializes name and age from arguments. All instances of person should initialize with an empty stomach array. Give instances of person the ability to eat some food. When eating an edible, it should be pushed into the stomach. The eat method should have no effect if there are 10 items in the stomach. Okay, so if the person has eaten more than 10 items, they shouldn't be able to eat anymore. Give instances of person the ability to poop. So when an instance poops, the stomach should empty. And then give instances of person a method to string. It should return a string with the name and age. So for example, Mary 50. Okay, this is a big question. Let's break it down together. So first things first, we're creating a constructor function. Okay, this is called pseudocoding. So I like to write out the steps in plain English before I start solving problems. The very first thing that you want to do is ask yourself, like, do I have all of the information I need here? Is there anything I need to look up? Is there anything that I don't know what it means and I need to go and do some research before I answer this question? So we're going to create a constructor function. We know that this constructor function has 3 properties. So it takes 3 properties. It takes name, age, and it has a stomach, which is an empty array. Okay, and we want to initialize these things from arguments. Okay, so we have to pass them in one by one. So we want to initialize from arguments. Okay, so let's say function person, and we're going to pass in name and age. So we're going to say this dot name equals name. This dot age equals age, and this dot stomach. And how would I initialize an empty array here? Let me get. How do I make an empty array? Yeah, we just set it to an empty array. Awesome. Okay, step 2, we want to create an eat method. Okay, we want to give the person the ability to eat. So we should be able to pass in an argument of something edible. That edible thing should be pushed to the stomach. Okay. If the stomach has 10 items, the person can't eat anymore. Okay, so how do we create an eat method here? Thread. How do we create our eat method? We're gonna go step by step. How do we create a method here? Yeah, we want to say person.prototype.eat. So we're going to say person with a capital P, person.prototype.eat equals function. Okay, this function takes a parameter of something edible. And what do we need inside this function? So we need to say if the stomach has 10 items, don't do this. So if this dot stomach is less than 10, then we can push new items to the stomach. And what are we pushing? So we're saying this dot stomach dot push, and we are pushing in our edible thing that we pass in. Okay. With me so far? Making sense? All right. So now we need to make this person poop. So how do we create a poop method? Make the person poop. See here. How do we create a poop method? We don't need dot length for stomach. No. Actually, yes, we do. I lied. We need dot length. Yes, you are right. So if this dot stomach dot length is less than 10, yeah, you're right. How do we create a poop method? Yeah, same thing. Person.prototype.poop. So person with a capital P dot prototype dot poop equals function. And how would I empty the stomach? How do I empty the stomach? And don't overcomplicate things here, because this is usually what trips a lot of people up. How would we just make the stomach empty? Yeah, we would just set it back to an empty array. Perfect. So this dot stomach equals, we're just going to empty the array. Okay, and then we needed one more toString method. So person dot prototype dot toString equals function. And in this case, we want to return $ curly brackets, this dot name. And we also want to return $ curly brackets, this dot age. Okay, now I am going to create my objects. So I need some volunteers here. Who can I pick on? So go ahead and put your name in that thread if I can pick on you, and your age. So I'm going to say const person 1 equals new person. Const person 2 equals new person. And const person 3 equals new person. All right, pick on a few people here. So I'm going to pick on Prince, and he's 24. I'm gonna pick on Krista, and she is 33. And I am going to pick on Pablo, and he is 35. Okay, so let's console.log person 1.toString and person 2 and person 3 to make sure all of these objects are working. Okay, so we get Prince 24, Krista 33, Pablo 35. Perfect. All right, let's make person 3 eat some lunch. So what is Pablo eating for lunch? He's gonna have a big lunch today. He's gonna eat a few things. So we're gonna say person 3.eat, and we're gonna invoke this method a few times. 2, 3. Tacos, pizza, and ramen. That sounds like a pretty good lunch to me. Tacos, pizza, and ramen noodles. Okay, so how do we check if this is in Pablo's stomach? Okay. How do we check if this is in Pablo's stomach? And Julian, to answer your question, how do we know that we're not passing in an object here? Because when I created the constructor function, I'm passing in the attributes one by one. I'm not passing in a keyword like attributes and then assigning this .name to attributes.name. I'm just passing the arguments in here one by one. And when you read the question, it asks you to initialize these, initialize name and age from arguments. So it wants you to pass in the actual arguments here. All right. Yeah, person 3.stomach. So let's console log that. Console.log person 3.stomach. Okay, clear, save, run. Okay, and we can now see that Pablo has tacos, pizza, and ramen in his stomach. He's had a big lunch. He's feeling a little uncomfortable. So now we've got to make him poop. So how do we make Pablo poop? We could maybe give him some coffee. We could maybe give him some laxatives, but how do we make him poop with JavaScript? Person 3.poop, perfect. Person 3.poop. How do we know that this worked? How do we know that he actually pooped? Yeah, we want to log his stomach again and make sure it's empty this time and that he's ready to eat more food. So person 3.poop or .stomach. Clear, save, run. Okay, and after he poops, he's got an empty stomach. All right, so this is your first question done for you. I trust that you can do the rest of the questions. The Code Sandbox will run tests for you, so it will tell you every time you save whether the question passed or failed. And that will be the same thing on your JavaScript assessment. So it's running tests in the background. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll see if there's any final questions, and then I'm gonna let you go for lunch. Whoa. Could you please re-explain .prototype? I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, so .prototype, what it's doing is it's abstracting the method out of the constructor function so that it's still available across thousands of methods, but it is not automatically painted every time a new object is created. Okay, so it's giving all of these objects the ability to use that method without it being super memory intensive. Okay, so what's going on with .prototype? We're abstracting the method out. So all of these pets have the ability to eat. All of the baby pets have the ability to eat, but it is not memory intensive because every time we're creating a new object, it's not automatically creating eat. It's just creating it when the method is invoked. Okay, does that make more sense now, Will? Does that make sense? Thumbs up. Makes sense to everyone else too, why we're using .prototype? Yeah, good. So constructor functions construct other objects. That is their whole life purpose. More importantly, they give us the ability to pass methods across thousands of objects. All right. Follow-up question. What are the advantages of doing .call versus .bind? As in, could you give simplified generalized examples? Yeah, what is the difference between .call and .bind? They don't do the same thing. What is the difference between .call and .bind? So we wouldn't use them for the same thing because they don't do the same thing. So what is the difference between them? Yeah, .call immediately invokes the function. .bind returns a brand new function that can be invoked later. Okay, so there's different use cases for each. In terms of constructor functions, we are binding the this keyword of the baby to the parent by using .call. Okay, so anything that the parent gets here, we want to automatically give that to the baby by using .call to bind those things. Okay. .bind is for creating a new object, or not a new object. .bind creates a new function that can be invoked later. Okay. All right. What does this reference inside of the function baby pet attributes? So if we look at baby pet attributes, this is taking, like here, this is taking all of these things and binding it to the baby pet. So this .name equals attributes.name in baby pet, this .species equals attributes.species in baby pet. It's so that we don't have to retype all of this stuff. And then this .toy is going to equal attributes.toy. So it's going to equal whatever toy we pass in here for the baby pet. So in this case, it's the trash can, and in this case, it's the ball. Oops. All right, last call for questions. What is at the bottom of the homework assignment today? Do we need to have that in our code box? Let me open up. But I imagine if it's there, it is there for a purpose. Launch on Code Sandbox. The bottom here, so this is what's running your tests. So yeah, leave this stuff alone. This is running your tests to say whether your tests have passed or failed. Okay. So if we put what we just did into here, all of our tests should pass for person. Okay. How do I get the sandbox thing, and what are all the files in our folder today? So I'm going to let you read the README file, because that's what we should be doing when we open up new projects. So read through this README file. If you've got a specific question after you've read the instructions, then I'm happy to answer it in the help channel. But how you get the sandbox is you just click launch on Code Sandbox. And I'm going to let you read the instructions today. All of these other files are the testing files. Okay, so the only thing that you need to pay attention to today is the Code Sandbox. I would highly, highly recommend you use Code Sandbox today. I don't want to hear any tears about Code Sandbox being a foreign environment for the JavaScript assessment. That's why we're giving you practice to use it today. So make sure you're using it today. If you choose not to use it, then you have to open this in VS Code. You're working out of the index.js file, just like normal. You'd open up the index.html file to check your work, and you would have to install Node to run the tests in your console. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to let you go for lunch, and I will see you later this afternoon in the help channel. Have a good lunch.